We welcome you and Happy New Year. Welcome to the first meeting of the 2014, January 8th meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. My name is Curtis Highsmith, and I am your chair. We'd like to introduce our panel. Unfortunately, Esther Pastor will not be here this evening. We would like to welcome Ham Hogue. Christina Redding is prepared to be here this evening, but will be leaving early. So we will excuse her during the course of the meeting. But we also like to welcome Brian Brady, Zach Studenroth, our historic consultant, our legal counsel, Bo Robinson, and as always, Antoinette, we welcome you. We're going to start this evening's meeting with signs and first application, please.
Mr. Chairman, Silva Automotive Service on 153 Powell. Several signs.
Is the applicant present? So it's the front and rear. Pam, have you had the opportunity to review?
Yes.
Do you have any issues with the sign?
Yes.
Okay. Brian?
Mm-hmm.
Have any issues with the sign?
I don't actually, because of where it's located.
Because of what? Well, we don't want to set precedents as well, so.
I'm taking a look at something.
Hi, Christine.
Welcome, Christine.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Good.
It would be at the front and the rear of the building.
It's a residential neighborhood. I think the rear is a no-brainer. I'm fine with that, but the front in multiple colors, I don't think it's appropriate.
Is it the multiple colors, or is it the detailing and the busyness?
The busyness of the sign and the multiple colors. 17-inch signs, our code is 12 inches.
Okay.
It's 9.
Christine?
I think it's busy.
All right, the applicant's not here. We did have dialogue. Is there any public comment on the application? We're going to adjourn because there is no present. Currently, the applicant is not present, so we'll adjourn the application for this evening, and we will wait to follow up information from the applicant. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that we adjourn the sign for Silva Automotive Service.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application, Alex and Annie, 10B Jobs Lane for storefront sign. Fine with this one.
Hi, Stacy Menzer, Hampton Signs. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Black and white,
Yes?
correct font,
Yes?
exact replica that's being posted here.
Yes?
I have no issue. Christine?
I'm fine.
I'm fine with it.
Ham?
Appropriate.
Any comments on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the sign application for Alex and Annie on Job's Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application,
This
please.
application is Aboff's Painting on Hampton Road.
Slip through the
Make the second one.
With big plastic letters.
What?
Big-
It's just the lettering, correct?
It is not. It is the paint cans, the graphic on the bottom of the window on the,
Are these window decals?
they are. They're presently located on the right side of the building. Now that they've expanded to the left side, they want to remove them from the right and put them on the left-hand
So
side.
they're currently there.
They are currently present on the other side of the building where it's blacked out.
You want to pick and put it on the other
Right,
side.
to block out what's behind there in the inside.
That's not what that Schmitz.
These are going to block out so that they can't see what's behind them
Saying this-
on the
this
lower
is
part of the
already
window.
present. I'm going to move it over to the other side.
I don't remember ever seeing that.
Do you want to see what it looks like now?
This went through it. Anything more in that window for me is way too much.
Just giving us a...
That's existing.
This is existing. So they're replacing, picking up, and just placing it on the other side.
It's not bigger.
That's different.
It's different.
It's different.
It's different.
The
bigger.
graphics are bigger.
Are the
The
graphics bigger?
graphics are
The
bigger.
graphics are bigger because the windows are bigger. The windows are wider.
The last thing we need is more of that. That's how I feel.
Okay, fine.
I agree. I think that, the Aboffs, the red lettering is enough for that building, and toning it down, anything else would be more appropriate than something graphically bigger.
Yeah?
Agree 100%. You have a lot of store owners that are right across the street. You have one here this evening. And to have graphics all over the place is littering, it's visual pollution in a sense, or sign laws, but tighten this stuff down.
Okay. seems that the overall consensus of the board that are you saying the elimination of, or just a reduction?
I'd like the
Elimination.
The elimination of the new, but they can maintain the existing.
Well, the existing exists. This board's not reviewing the application as,
Okay.
okay? Any questions?
Nope, we'll go.
Any public
back-
comment on the
Back
application?
to the customer.
Do you need to go back to the customer
I
and then
do.
come back?
I do.
So you're asking us to adjourn so you can have
Please,
further
thank you.
information? All right. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant, Abof's Paints on Hampton Road request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application is Schmidt's Market, storefront sign.
This is what you're proposing, correct?
I am.
Okay.
Do you,
Wood?
do you have a picture of the existing one there? I just
I have
put
a
it,
picture of it with the God bless our troops.
right, which has been up there for a number of years now.
So you're removing that?
We're removing that whole sign and
Entire
just
sign.
putting up the more tasteful one.
Okay. Not that we don't want to say God bless our troops as being not tasteful, please. Wood? Carving?
Wood and just vinyl graphics.
Brian, comments?
No, I think it's fine.
No, I'm fine with
Christine? Pam?
Fine.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the sign for Schmidt's Market on North Sea Road.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Concludes
night.
our sign permits for this evening. First application, historic.
So our first application historic is Lake Forest, I beg your pardon, Holdings LLC, 291 South Main Street, construction of accessory garage.
I need to recuse myself.
Okay. This is just a garage, Becky?
It's just a freestanding garage, 520 square feet.
Okay.
It can't be seen, it's on a flag lot on South Main. Cannot be seen from the road, the lake, or either neighbor.
Okay.
Going to be white shingles with a natural shingled roof. Carriage-style doors.
Is the height?
Mm,
16 feet?
I'm going blind. 15.9. And then the cupola on that.
Foot.
Right.
Christine, comments?
No, I think it's perfect.
Pam?
It's appropriate, it's not visible from the street, and it's a 16-foot tall garage. It's fine.
No major impact to the to the neighbor, setback, it's not seen from the street. Even if it were, it's in keeping, and I think the design itself is not, it's within the standards of our guidelines. Zach is an historic district, however, it's a very elementary application. Do you have any questions?
No visual impact.
Okay.
It's fine.
Any public comment on the application? The application is in a historic district and therefore requires written decision by council. So what we'll do now is empower our council to prepare that at our next meeting. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn for written decision.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Lake Forest Holdings for a written decision by our council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if you could excuse me.
Your excuse.
Excuse me, everybody.
I'm noise of my prayers. Next application. I'm not present.
Next application is John Aquino. There's a letter in the file requesting an adjournment
Motion
by the
to,
applicant.
a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn. I'm sorry, is this the first time the adjournment's been requested?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
John did call me this afternoon, Curtis, and mentioned that he was having trouble getting the information requested by the board. So, not requested by the board, but information that he wanted to further present to the board.
Okay.
and therefore was requesting the adjournment based upon that.
Very good. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant's request to adjourn for the application of John Aquino at 281 North Main Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is Woodcoff, 316 Cooper's Neck. There's a written decision in front of you.
Counsel?
Copies are,
This application, the plat application, and the Strunk application are all affirmatively approved previously, and so the decisions, each of them go by with the consensus of the board to approve, and therefore an affirmative vote on any of those motions would be to approve the decisions.
Strunk as well.
Strunk and also plat.
Motion to approve council's written decision for the application for Stephen Woodcoff.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Stephen Woodcoff at 316 Cooper's Neck Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Do you want to call plat or hold it into that?
Same thing, him,
Okay.
and also Strunk.
So we'll just make motions to approve them?
Yeah.
I make a
Jonathan,
motion
sorry.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for the application of Jonathan and Linda Platt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Kurt and Lorena Strunk.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application is Elizabeth Yonke, Farrell Building, 483 Hill Street.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jane Kratz, and I am an attorney, and I represent Farrell Building, the applicant. I previously submitted to your board a lengthy letter, apologize, earlier this week that I believe reflects modifications that we have proposed to the application, and those modifications are respectful of requests and dialogue comments that we've received from several of the immediate neighbors. We've had a face-to-face meeting with the immediate neighbors, and not one out in the hallway, but at the office on Saturday of this week, where we've listened to the comments and concerns, and what we've submitted to you reflects those concerns, we believe. Primarily, they address hedging and screening of the project from the immediate neighbors, the preservation of existing trees to the extent possible. The neighbors also weighed in on the type of hedging, the height of the hedging that we are proposing in the perimeter.
That's all that been included in
And that's all-
the landscape plan?
Yes, it is, and is reflected in my letter to the board from earlier this week. And we've also received written support, actually, from many of the neighbors to the application as modified. And I know Mr. Pressman is here on behalf of several of his neighbors to speak to that, and he's also submitted a letter to you as well. Primarily, if the board has any comments or concerns regarding the modifications, I'm here along with Lynn Mahana from Farrell to address those issues.
Can you just briefly go over the details of the corrections that you've
Yes, I'd be
thus
happy
far?
to. Initially, the hedging was a staggered hedging. The neighbors felt that a straight line, 16 to 18-foot high hedge would be in their best interests. We're happy to accommodate that. We were also asked and have agreed to actually install some additional hedging off-site and on the neighbor's property to enhance the hedging at their request. Those hedges will be installed as soon as weather permits, and the neighbors have offered to help us irrigate those until we have water on site. We've also clarified with the neighbors that we will have project limiting fencing installed. We will have on-site parking, so there aren't strewn pickup trucks up and down the street.
Parking during construction or the
On-site.
phases of construction are not the purview of this board, so I just want
Yes.
to make sure we know that for the record.
Yes, I understand. I'm speaking more to, I suppose, the accommodations
Accommodations.
and concerns that were raised with us during the meetings. We've also shifted the house slightly to the south. It's still a conforming setback, but it's 60.1 feet, I believe, off of
How
the
much was the shift?
2 feet and
2 feet?
it's in compliance with setbacks. We don't need any variance relief for that. We also modified the driveway slightly. As one of the neighbors to the east pointed out, there is an easement of record, but it also...
10-foot easement?
Yes.
Okay. The 2 feet that you're shifting the house is to grow the privet, essentially? Is that why? What's the purpose of shifting the house 2 feet?
Accommodation for south.
Is it the impact of the driveway?
Not particularly, simply to move it to the south, and I think at the request of the neighbors, and it didn't matter to us.
Okay, forward of the lot, right?
Forward, towards Hill
flagpole.
Street, correct. And we moved the pool also slightly to the south from its originally proposed location and closer to the house.
By how many feet?
Overall, 12
12
feet, something like that. We've also decided that as to the pool equipment, to muffle it, to have the pool equipment be below grade, and it will be hedged as
Got
well
it.
and screened.
Okay.
And we submitted the landscape plan so that you can see, to the extent possible, we're preserving linden trees and other substantial, and some white pines as well. Those are the material
Besides the
changes.
placement of the building and the landscape, any changes structurally to what
No,
was proposed?
Your revised presentation plans will show that we changed to the natural brick as requested by the
Right.
board.
There's
And
one
that's on the
chimney
chimney as well as on the lower sections?
beneath the bluestone terracing,
Okay,
correct.
thank you. Lynn,
That's-
are those the only changes on the application? Okay, thanks.
You know, as far as my clients is concerned, we feel that it is a conservative application, given the size of the lot, and that although we could have built to 7,600 square feet, this application is for 5,726 square feet of floor coverage. And where a height of 35 feet would be permitted, we are under 32 feet, 31 and a half feet, actually. Again, as a way of demonstrating that we're not looking to outsize or overbuild, given the size of the lot. We could have, but we initially chose not to, and we've maintained that position.
You gave examples, I'm assuming, of previous projects. Is this
Yes.
a replication of what you proposed?
Does the board have any other questions of
That
us?
was to address the concerns they wanted to see, the
The
renderings
impact.
and the chimney.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See if there's
guys.
any public comment, and then,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
is there any public comment on the application? Please step forward. Your name for the record, sir.
Good evening. My name is Carl Irace. I'm an attorney in East Hampton, New York, of counsel at the office of Jeff Bragman. I wasn't here the last time, but I spoke with my client. I represent Ann Pine, and she lives in the historic district of this section of Hill Street. I know most of the discussion last time was about screening. Most of the discussion was about screening because Mr. Studenroth, the village historic consultant, already stated that this proposal is incompatible with the neighborhood and the historic district. And the discussion dominated the hearing, and this kind of puts the cart before the horse. The real standard of compatibility is what I want to speak to you about, and what makes this proposal incompatible with the rest of the neighborhood. The screening as proposed is not only inadequate, but also merely covers up an out-of-scale building. Such a cosmetic change fails in its attempt to change the true nature of the issue. In addition, such large imposing screening in and of itself is out of scale and incompatible with the neighborhood. I mean, we're talking about 16 and 18-foot trees, which probably don't really do too much to screen a 30-some-foot house, and I don't know of much other 16 or 18-foot screening in this area. This is a story about a sore thumb, and like a sore thumb is how this house will stand out among others in the historic district. This property is in the historic district. Compatibility is at the heart of all applications for construction in the historic district. The factors for the board to consider are, among others, the general design character and appropriateness to the property of the proposed alteration or new construction, as is the case here. The scale of new construction in relation to the property itself and to the surrounding properties and neighborhood, and the visual compatibility with surrounding properties and spacing of properties on streets, including setbacks. As I mentioned, this house is a sore thumb. The proposal is inconsistent with the factors of Section 65-5C. A better suited alternative might be a more proportionate house. The general design, character, and appropriateness of this proposal are incompatible with the rest of the district because size alone demonstrates the incompatibility. A comparison to other properties illustrates this point. I have some data from the tax assessor's office that helps show how relative sizes of the houses on Hill Street between Corrigan and Moses Lane in the historic district compare to what we have here. The subject application keeps referring to a 5,726 square foot house. When you're comparing to the tax assessor's records, my information is that the tax assessor usually includes a basement. If you add the basement to this house, we're talking about a 7,966 square foot house. The next largest house in this neighborhood are both under 4,100 square feet when you include the basement. Almost 8,000 square feet is twice the size of the other houses in the neighborhood almost. And most of the hills, and then when you look at the way these houses in this area are, or the way the lots are configured, there are the houses that front on Hill Street. And then there are houses behind them. They're flag lots. Most of these houses were these lots were subdivided to create this configuration. And in this part of the historic district, from Corrigan to Moses, the average size of the 10 houses that front Hill Street average 2,909 square feet with basements. So again, that's according to the tax assessor records. And when you look at the houses on the flag lots behind the houses on Front Street, which is more comparable to the situation here, because this is going to be on a flag lot, so it's in that kind of second rung of houses.
What about Hill
before.
Street, not Front Street, right?
Yeah, they right.
Okay.
Fronting on Hill
Right.
Street. Sorry about that.
No problem.
When you look at the houses on the flag lots, the disproportionate size of this proposal is even more obvious. The average size of the 7 houses on flagpole lots in this section, including the basements, is 2,232.6 feet. Allowing this house to be constructed as proposed will drastically alter the average house size of the flag lot houses in this area of the historic district. The construction of this single house will increase the average square footage on those flag lot houses to 2,949.3 square feet, including the basements. An increase of that magnitude certainly tips the scale. And again, scale is exactly what we're talking about here. Constructing such a large house is additionally incompatible because it defies the traditional arrangement of this neighborhood where the larger houses occupy the front lot and then the flag lot is a smaller house behind it. This tradition derives from the arrangement of what were, I guess, farmhouses, which were the original homes in this area. Adding a house of the size proposed here would single-handedly make the average among those flagpole houses larger than the average size of the street front lots. This would set a precedent for the scale of future houses on rear lots. Increasing the average size of the back row of houses also raises the bar in the scale by which other houses will build to. I mean, creating a scale that is, creating a house scale that's larger will give the opportunity for other houses as they're reconstructed in this area to build up to that. I mean, that's human nature, and as we see other houses expand, ones around it will be reconstructed to grow or have additions built onto them to grow to meet that size. This is kind of a domino theory that will eventually subvert the character of the historic district by making the larger new construction loom from behind over what the historic preserved homes on Front Street, that front on Hill Street are. And this will happen as people naturally build up to the largest house. Architectural review and historic preservation review, as this board reviews, can require a smaller house to make it compatible with a neighborhood. In fact, those are the duties of the board as spelled out in town code. This is a historic district whose character must
Village code, by the way. Village.
Village.
It's okay.
His character must be preserved for the future. The only way to do that is to continue to ensure the construction is compatible in size, scale, mass, spacing, and other design elements. This proposal, however, is not compatible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments? Please step forward.
Good evening. Bob Pressman at 473 Hill Street. There were several phone calls, meetings, emails, and a direct meeting at Farrell's office, and a lot of time went into meeting with the surrounding neighbors and trying to come up with a consensus as to what was being built. I just want to hand out, if I can. I'll do this quickly.
Ms. Pressman, if there's other comments, maybe you want to wait so you can consolidate any alternative comments and you're able to respond to.
Should I wait till the end?
I'm just, it's your discretion. It's your
Sure.
discretion. Also, you're represented by counsel too, so I don't know how.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Applicant.
Yes.
So do you want us to get everyone's consensus before? Or?
Maybe I'll wait till the end, because I represent 5 people, give me permission to speak, so I'll wait till the end to speak on behalf of the group.
You're representing 5 people?
5 neighbors gave me permission by email to speak on their behalf.
Counsel?
I have the emails here,
And the emails were also.
Okay, just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
so I can wait till the end.
Be
And
fine,
then,
yeah.
May we hear who he's speaking on behalf of?
yeah, I'll wait till the end. Yes, very good. Thank you.
Since you have so much stuff, why don't you enter that in, because I'm going to want to look at this
Okay.
anyway. I'm not making a decision on this thing tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Any
It's too
additional
cold in
comments?
here. I want to move along.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob.
Sure.
Good evening, board again. I am Barbara Missett, one of the adjacent, but the closest adjacent neighbor.
Is this one of everything?
Yes, it's one
Okay.
package.
Thank you.
I'd like to pass out, I submitted a letter to the board at the building department today, but I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to bring, I'd like to copy.
You want to get a copy of this to her?
It is in the file, yeah, it is in the file. And then,
Thank you.
Paper man?
brought an easel this time.
The easel?
I just want to review. First thing I'm going to review, the Farrell Group, Lynn sent us a black and white version of this, which I'm going to show you, marking the house. But just to remind you, this is a lot clearer, the color one. This is a proposed site of the new house. This is my house, this little thing right here. My 2 little beach umbrellas, opposite my pool right here. Driveway I own, and pay the taxes on and maintain, that is used by the houses to the rear. This is Mr. Pressman's house, my neighbor adjacent to me. Beyond that, and out on this map, is Mrs. Metter's house. This is Mr. Selkin's house right here. Mr. Raymond and Miss Nelson. And the Jonke's house is off here down Hill Street. This is the site of the new house. This is a co-joined properties. This is my house directly opposite the driveway and garage areas that we've already discussed. Now we've moved things closer. We'll get to that a little bit later. And I'm sorry, can you see?
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
this is my former house, now owned by, it looks a little different now, right here.
Okay.
Okay. I will go through pretty quickly.
Your former house is Bob's house?
Yes. No,
Is that
no, the
right?
former house he took down and it,
The one that he tore down
yeah,
and rebuilt
yeah.
is
This,
behind you?
this was, there's my house and this is my former little house.
Got it. Okay,
Right
thanks.
here. And this is just turn around with trees. All this was
Thanks,
wooded
Barbara.
and trees.
Okay.
Okay, but this is what Farrell's group sent us. This, a little, I've got it upside down. They whited, this is there from them. They whited in the house area to show it in relation to Pressman, mine, et cetera, et cetera. However, what they didn't do, it already looks, and here's, this is, the Jonke's house who sold it down here. And this is Mark Chappelle and whatever's house. They're still not the same scale, as you can see, none of these houses. And these little ones over here on Corrigan Street are certainly not the same scale. Now, I took the liberty of whiting in the actual area that's encompassed. In other words, the decks out here, the pool, the driveway area, and we can see how much that is occupying. It becomes a lot larger. Now, just to show you, I probably will never use, this is the side, this is looking west from my house. This is just the end of my house, which is a one-story with a little tacky bedroom upstairs. And this is their property back here, the new property, 483. That's my side. This is my backyard. This is west here. This is my house. This is my living room deck, you know, where I entertain, and my pool. This will face directly, as you could see in that earlier thing, into this. My objection is twofold. To begin with, in this, somehow, we were on conference calls, some of us were on conference calls, and I certainly didn't hear, going back, that the size of moving, I heard somebody suggest they would like the pool moved forward, Mr. Pressman, naturally, because his house is back here, so he wanted that moved forward. And I didn't hear them talk about moving the house south. I mean, Mrs. Pine suggested moving the house south, but that didn't seem to fly.
They did speak about that.
Unfortunately, you can't
Okay, I'm
speak.
sorry.
It's okay.
They're,
And we have to direct all comments this
they're
way.
moving the house 2 feet to the south and the pool 12
Yeah,
feet.
well, I don't mind the south, because that actually gets it away from my pool area. That part is good for me. What isn't so good is they've done, what we saw at that meeting that, on the phone, the plan they had sent out on Thursday was having, it was 48 feet from this side, and it was 53 feet from my side, giving much more breathing space for planting here, giving me 17 feet. Now, the thing they submitted to the board, without anybody's knowledge, I never heard that was going to be moved back during this discussion whatsoever. Then I talked to other people. But now I've, again, lost 2 feet. It's getting even closer. Never mind the scale of this. This is 100 feet long. And this is, well, it's 51 wide with 15, so that's 35 or 36 feet. That's quite a large parking area. It seems to me 100 by 50 feet. I don't know, but, and this is, you know, a flag lot. All of us had to bear with this living situation, and, you know, when cars come, parties, we have them park out in Hill Street, which they're allowed to do.
Yep.
So, I'm not quite sure why that is. In any event, I guess what I'm really saying, I responded to a letter that had been sent to Mr. Highsmith by a lawyer, because some of this, maybe they talked about it after we were off the phone, but some of us didn't hear some of this discussion about moving the house, or changing that, or changing the landscape plan that was presented to us for the meeting was a staggered plan. Now, just Mr. Selkin, to my memory, talked about he wanted a straight hedge. Ms. Mahana very nicely said, we can arrange that. Sounded like you could have anything you wanted. Now, I will say in deference to her, I've written to her many times about this, she has said I can have staggered on my side, so that makes me happy. But as far as the landscape screening and the existing tree, well, I'm going to get back to that. So anyway, the setback. So I'm really saying that the setbacks, which may be, I don't understand why this has to move this way. I would prefer even 2 or 3 extra feet is a boon to me. And I don't see why this group's house are on Corrigan Street. They're not right 20 feet away from the property line at all, or certainly not where any of the house is going to be. So they're going to have basically 70 or more feet between them and whatever. So I just think the mass of the thing should be considered, not just the house centered on the property. So, okay, now, setbacks. And then it also allows more green area for me, thank you, or for us all. Otherwise, I'm going to have driveways on 3 sides of my house as it stands now in parking lots. That just doesn't seem right. Now, the real thing I want to talk about, though, is backing up Mrs. Pine on the historic district. I've quoted you in my letter because we have it on tape. It's, it's a matter of fact, I don't think I misquoted you, saying it was too large scale. And I strongly feel it's too large scale. We all lived in these nice turn of the century prior to the turn of the century houses, very peacefully. And there's nothing wrong with the Farrell house. It's just where it's being located. There's so many place sites, big open fields right across from the hospital. That's great because those are all new houses that look like this. It's appropriate. But anyway, so I'd like to see the setbacks change, number one. And my other comment, as I said, the siting of the house and the historic, that's for the board to decide, but I thought that was one of the duties to whatever, look at. And I would love to see that parking area reduced because it's ridiculous. Finally, and most importantly, these linden trees. Now, this is a very interesting, this is my final thing to you. All right. This is the tree survey. This is from the Farrell Group. It's hard to see. These little trees, I quite often ask Ms. Mahana to, those are numbers there. They're really hard to read and see what they are. I had, a year and a half ago, prior to any knowledge of this, a tree survey done, because these trees are actually not on my property, these linden trees. But I obviously look at them, as you can see here, there. You can see the nice screening of evergreen, of green and so forth. 100-year-old trees, specimen trees. And this is a blow-up of this Squire Holden survey, where they've shown when they're double trees, single trees, part of one is on my property, for example, et cetera, et cetera. And there are about, I counted them myself today, there are about 14 of them, including the double trunk ones. Now, what we have now, is I've truthfully asked you several times, or asked, I should say, the Farrell Group. We have this is their newest, latest recorded.
You're talking about this report with the 14 trees they want to save?
This is from Farrell. This is their final, it was in your records as the last one.
Landscape plan, right.
Yeah. And this little logo thing, or legend.
Legend, right.
Legend, I got it out finally, thank you.
Okay.
Says that these things represent the trees. Well, there are only 2 big ones. I still haven't had an answer as to if this means these are big ones and these little teeny dots mean they're little ones? Or what is the significance of this? And I would like an answer on that, because it appears to me, in spite of their letter saying that they're going to keep all of the linden trees, this does not reveal it to me. I mean, unless these little teensy pinheads, what are they? Are they little saplings, new things? Are they existing linden trees? There's not 14 in any event.
Is there a scale next to, it shows you size based on?
No, it just says, I can read the thing. What made this it says existing tree.
It actually refers in the letter to they've numbered the sizes of in this letter that you have highlighted, they've numbered the trees to relate to their legend. If you want to blow that up so you can be clearer about it.
No. This says.
Maybe that's.
No, I think that's my understanding. The white pines are those numbers. Read the first highlighted.
No, this will include all large linden trees and maples in the immediate property line and includes 842, 843, and possibly
Yep.
844.
Those are
The white
over,
pines that are listed below are 856 through 860.
right,
Regardless, what you're seeking is clarity on their landscape plan, is that correct? Where
absolutely.
you can read it. Can you provide that, Lynn? Okay, great. So,
Okay,
and then,
good.
Bob, you have, to not switch, I'm sorry, but you've documented that as well. Okay,
Right. Okay, well, there are pictures. Picture tells 1,000 words.
great.
This is looking
Okay.
west in the winter. That was taken about a month ago.
Just so you know,
This is enough.
In
I don't
the-
know if you saw their information.
Yeah,
Okay, what they have is actually a survey
yeah.
showing the placement of trees, and there's a scale next to.
I have that. That's on this board,
Okay,
right here.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so your question is that you didn't have a specific.
Well, they're not the same number.
Yeah.
Count.
Yep.
My thing is, if they're not nearly as many as these are here, or are pictured, or on the Squires Holden.
Okay, so you're
survey.
saying that the replicating, what they're showing is not a true representative of what the lot currently, or should say the trees that are currently
No,
on the
what
lot.
they're keeping, while they say they're keeping these trees,
Barbara, do you want clarity on what they're keeping and what they're not?
I do. I want
Okay.
to actually know exactly. I'd like to
They-
be
they-
there,
they-
because there's another little caveat that's in the language. It says, "We will keep healthy trees." Now, I don't know who's going to determine what's healthy. I've been maintaining those trees, thinning them and so forth. One has to come down. But the others,
If the clarity of the landscape plan is given to you and provided for you, are you still in opposition of the application based on size?
yes, I am.
So it's not just the
The
landscape
size?
plans.
Size, scale, location of how they're distributing the equality of who's living with what there, and maintain the linden trees, which are just beautiful
Thank you.
things.
Okay. So
Thank
you'd like to see the house move west
Just a little bit.
and minimize the driveway,
Yeah.
make sure the trees are protected, and other than that, or do you have any issues with the structure itself? The finishes, the materials? No, okay.
If that doesn't disqualify my saying that I like the scale.
Could I say something, I think pertinent to what he's gonna say? It's not repetitive of what the lawyer
The
said.
chair.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry, sir.
Not at all.
I'm sorry, you want to have a comment in regards to?
I have a feeling, I just wanna say
Have a
something
feeling.
first. And that is that, I'm Ann Pine, the neighbor 2 houses to the east. And, I was on this phone conversation, and I received Miss Kratz's letter, and I found no mention of the concerns that I raised in that letter. And those concerns were, first of all, about scale. I made it very clear in that phone conversation that that was my primary concern. And I also listened again to Mr. Studenroth on the video of a month ago, and he clearly said there was there were no other houses of this scale in the area. And I concur. It's very obvious when you walk down Hill Street, when you go back, it's double. But I won't get into that. The concerns I raised on the phone that were expunged were, first of all, the scale of the house. Second of all, I did not want to see a tennis court. It was agreed there wouldn't be one. I wanted to be sure that the house would rise from the existing ground level and not be filled in 2 feet, and that was agreed upon. And I definitely complained quite a bit about the vagueness of the landscaping plan. I asked for canopies to be drawn around the linden trees. I asked for the height of the new deciduous trees. I don't know if that's been corrected, but I definitely asked for all of that. And I would worry about the word healthy trees. It leaves a lot of room for cutting things down when they get in the way. But I did want to make clear that I was part of the conversation, and I raised issues that were not in this letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And decisions were made that were not made on the phone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your
Oh,
patience.
thank you.
Bob, sorry, Bob, you have a lot of the same information. Where do you differ?
Yeah, I'm going to summarize.
just
But
thank you.
what I want to give you is a flavor of the process that happened, because at the last board meeting, you had encouraged the neighbors to get together. I don't want to go through the steps. I think that it's important that you understand, because I think that's part of the process that you're looking at. I would want to congratulate Farrell for actually running a very fair, in my opinion, a very fair process. Numerous phone calls, emails, actually, and I had a meeting at their office where everybody was invited. Some people attended by phone, some directly. Many hours of give and take, and pretty much all of the surrounding neighbors were there. And after much conversation, there are 5 residents, 5 homeowners that border this property. Of the 5, 4 of them, which are with emails, consents, have authorized me to tell you that they have approved this plan as an overall. So the 5, 4 that I've listed here are in approval of the overall plan. Again, it was a process. You know, we can't get everything we want. We'd all like to have no house there, but, you know, reality is people have property rights, they can build a house. So, you know, in that context, what would be reasonable, we felt in balance that this is a reasonable plan. We also went over materials. They consented to using all natural materials, including cedar on the roof and on the side, using stone or brick for a chimney. There was a lot of discussion on design, a lot of discussion on placement of driveways, a lot of placement on, it wasn't just about landscaping, it was about everything. And after much discussion among the group, the most of the neighbors, that is 4 or 5, plus Ms. Meters, joined together, so 5 of us, supporting this application. Our only request of you is that we've approved this. And we ask that if you approve this, that this go into the approval that this is that our wish to support this is based on Farrell building what's here, which is what they submitted. So I just want to give you a flavor of the process.
Just to let you know that any approval is any approval we receive or we grant is in consistency with what we receive in terms of testimony, material, landscape plan, drawings or elevations that have been altered. All of that is included and will be also established in a written decision. So the approval will be what's submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything that is not, or anything that is done that's not upon or a part of the approval has to come back before this board and be reapplied, or an alteration to an existing approved application, and then we have to rewrote on the application. So it is a part of the approval overall.
Thank you very much. And I attached for your record.
It's inclusive of the surveys, licensed landscape or licensed architect stamping the plans and so forth, and certification of building inspector prior to allowing them to have a issuance of a permit.
What I will say, though, is that this board is not an enforcery board.
Exactly.
So
Understood.
once the approval is complete, we obviously are going to be thorough in terms of the information we receive.
Mm-hmm.
From that moment on, it's the building department's responsibility to enforce the construction, make sure it abides by all information and data that we receive.
Okay. And just for the record, I attached all the emails that were sent to me that you now have in front of you, of the individual neighbors who gave consent to this. So you have a complete package in front of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Zach, your name came up a few times. Any comments?
Wow. I'm delighted. I'm still concerned, the house, the front facade that I'm looking at here is an attachment, which will be facing Hill Street, basically disguises a 2-story house as a 1-story house by dropping these very large facade gable dormers down with roof lines to the 1st story. So we're dealing with apparently a 31-foot high structure.
And how far back is it from the visible side of Hill Street on this flagpole lot, inclusive of the setbacks within the lot? I mean, it's pretty far back there, isn't it?
Where's the impact on Corrigan?
The impact on Corrigan is there's another house between it and Corrigan.
Well, I don't think the issue is Corrigan Street because that's
Right.
not the historic district.
Right, exactly.
My concern is that visually, regardless of screening, which as has been often referenced in these meetings as being plant material. Plant material is not structure. Plant material is growth, which comes and goes. So my concern is that as the trees die, the visual impact on Hill Street, which is a key corridor within the extensive historic district within the village, most people don't wander down these side streets, but they come up and down Hill Street. That is a key corridor in our historic
It's a
district.
gateway.
Indeed. So, I don't think we've seen what the visual impact of this structure will be upon that district, because the district there is basically defined as the properties which immediately front along the street.
Do you want to balloon this house?
Balloon it?
We've done it about 20, 30 times over the years, over the last 10 years or more, where you put an elevation balloon up and you mark it, so you see what 32
Well,
feet is for the neighbors and so forth. Would you
oftentimes
guys be willing to do that? We usually do a float. Pretty straightforward.
The board has asked for, you know, the adjoining houses and what the visual impact will be. And,
Right.
and you know, it's, you know, you can say 60 feet, 60 yards, whatever the setbacks, but absent the plantings, which are temporary, because plantings can die. There could be a
Right.
linden tree, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What will the visual impact of this house be upon that district? I don't think you've seen that, and I think it's really hard to judge what that will be. Even though everyone's feeling, you know, under the circumstances. Because for instance, this is a pretty good-sized lot, and so a story that is, a house that is indeed of 1.5 stories, as opposed to a disguised 2-story, could fully occupy that lot, fully comply with setbacks, et cetera, and be more compatible in terms of massing with the district.
So are you saying that
280 feet to the front step.
You're not going to see that from Hill Street? Driving west on Hill Street? You're not going to see that? Absent the trees?
Absence of trees in a house and other,
That's my concern.
okay.
Okay. Would you
Brian?
guys be willing to float on this house? Would you be willing to mark out or show the gable ends and what they're projecting if that was necessary? I'm just asking if you would, not if you would, if you would do it, just you would be willing to, right? Okay. And
Brian,
you're-
you have any comments?
I mean, I can appreciate where everyone's coming from on this, and I can understand the mass of the house being a concern for the historic district, but it is a flag lot and it is back there. I think that what is drawing the mass of the house into making it look a little bit too large is that the roof line is continuous all the way across, and I'm wondering if there's a way to sort of drop the roof line over the garage down so that it reads as a main house with an addition on it. That would break down the scale of the house and maybe make it feel more like something that's a little more compatible with the scale of the other houses that may have had a bigger house with an addition on it or something like that.
Submissive. The garage is submissive. Yeah.
Huh.
Agree.
You did this?
I am an architect. You know.
Doodling. Barbara, do you understand what he's saying? The 3-car garage that's facing your property, if that roof line were adjusted somewhat, it would soften the feel, but more importantly, it would soften the feel from the street, which is not really a public road, but it's a common driveway of 3 owners. Would you consider,
Is that an acceptable?
would you consider showing an option for that?
I can ask the
Okay.
architect.
And then clean up the site plan to indicate the trees?
It wouldn't change
so
your
it's more-
plans or anything. There's no 3rd floor, so.
Yeah, it wouldn't impact on your, it would impact on the mass, and it would impact on the direct relationship with the neighbors, but also clarifying the trees and get a little solidification behind that.
Regarding the plan.
Sorry?
I have some clarification on that, or
Good. Back to the chair.
If you want to step forward? Is this something that
just
are you presenting or are you handing in?
Just wanted to clarify some things in the paperwork you have that I think may have been overlooked. Ms. Missett keeps referencing the linden trees. If you look at the letter submitted from Hampton Rustic, we state in there that we will be keeping all existing trees on the easterly border on that property line. Of course, when we mean health, that is because it is a lot of overgrowth. It is our intention to leave all those existing trees on that easterly borderline. On her survey that she has submitted to me from Squires and Holden, on that survey, she actually indicates that there's only 12 trees on her survey. If you look at both of our surveys from Stephen Borilski dated December 11th, 2013 and January 6th of 2014, including the landscape plan that we submitted, our plan actually shows that there's 16 trees that we'll be keeping.
Okay.
So she said her last count was 14. So we're actually saying we're keeping more than even she's aware of.
Okay.
So
I think the other concern she had to do with the terminology with regards to the trees being healthy.
Okay.
I think if you could replace that with, if they are not, they'll be replaced like in kind with regards to height. And I think that would be acceptable. Looking.
I just would like to clarify.
You can't sit from there and speak because
I'm sorry,
it wouldn't be
sorry,
on the
sorry.
record.
I just would like clarification, which I have emailed you about quite a bit, to find out why the little dot, because there certainly
there
aren't
is a
14.
scale, and if you look at the original survey from Stephen Borilski with the numbered, it does reference the size of the trees on each
The caliper?
location. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, so
Well, then-
they are.
But this is misleading then.
Well, not every tree. That is the size. And if you count these dots, these are existing. Each one of these dots is an existing tree.
Okay, why are some large? and
Because some
small?
of those
They're
existing
fatter.
trees
They're
are
bigger.
are larger scale trees. As you can see, this tree here, like you said, there's double trunk.
It's a double trunk.
So that would be indicated by a larger circle.
Okay, well, it's misleading.
But we are indicating at the moment there are 16 trees that will.
That will remain.
Correct.
Okay, we're hearing.
And the verbiage that if any had to be replaced.
Barbara,
be
she's
replaced
going
like-
to provide the applicant's going to provide a clearer mirrored plan,
landscape plan.
landscape plan.
I don't want to be in Florida when they come down. I would like to
Not
meet,
our-
if that's possible, to see, would that be a fair thing to ask?
I mean,
What are you asking?
That that the whoever is going to take them down,
Okay,
we identify.
this board won't
You won't
delegate
go
We don't
with
do
whether-
that, Barbara.
what time and what day do they tear or do any landscaping.
We don't do that.
Any additional public comment? Please step forward.
What I am, Ann Pine, what I am concerned about, in addition to what this looks like from Hill Street, which I think it will show, and the garage might be helpful, is what is the, I mean, if you all don't consider scale in an historic district, what is the implication of that for the next lot in this area that's in the historic district? I mean, I'm really concerned about the precedent being set if you ignore the double to triple size of this house. Or are you taking this lot out of the historic district? I mean, it seems like you're either ignoring, I understand, but I'm just looking at it logically. If you ignore scale here, you're either taking the lot out of the district in a way, or you're allowing this scale to be okay for the other lots. And that's my concern.
To, in some form, try to better assist in the impact of scale. And scale.
Excuse me?
Our licensed architect here made a suggestion to the applicant.
Which
on
I
how
thought
they
was
could
a
make
great
it better
suggestion.
impact, into scale. The challenge here, unfortunately, is that the applicant has the right to build a home at a certain size. That is something that the board of this village has allowed. If you have an issue with the volume or size that a home is allowed to be built, that is a argument to go to the village board. What we try to do is whatever application is being presented before this board, make it in a respectful way that at least the impact is within keeping with the community. It's not shadowing or impeding on the neighbors, and that is overall a design that's acceptable within the historic district.
Yes, I think
Very
that's...
difficult tool to do when an applicant has the right to build a certain size.
Yes, but you have a mandate to look at, in an historic district, the scale in relation to the neighborhood.
And you remember the Toilsome Post Lane Association, and for 4 or 5 years, they were a very strong group within the village, going down Toilsome, Post Lane, Little Plains. This board has been very experienced in negotiating and talking to owners on flag lots back and forth for years and years and years. It's not a new challenge that's come before this board as a
No,
group.
I know you objected to the scale of, was it the Ferrara House? And you were turned down, but that was outside of the historic district. So I'm just stressing the historic district aspect.
That's one example out of 50.
Well, I just don't know the others.
And I know you were very much a part of that those meetings.
Actually, I don't know anything about.
Okay, well, I remember that you had some comments on an application or two over the years and so forth. And you're consistent in that concern, but I think the chair spoke very eloquently that this application...
No, and I don't think we're that far apart in what we're saying, but the precedent of accepting something that is out of scale concerns me in terms of your mandate to judge scale. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Any additional comments?
If I can just add something. Some of the public comments that we heard today talk about how 5 neighbors approved this, and this project isn't really about what the immediate neighbors approve of, or though their opinion can be relevant. This board is about historic preservation and architectural review. And the duties of the board do include, in section 116-33, they do include the review of mass, which is different from scale. Scale might be a strictly visual, it may have strictly visual impacts, but mass really directly relates to size. And size is one of the things that I spoke about that makes this this project so incompatible. And if you were to compare the size again to what else is there in this historic district, and it is in the historic district. I mean, I've seen the map. It's on it. Though there may be different effects in the historic district on other properties that front on Hill Street, this house is in the district. I mean, that's why we're here, and that's why people are concerned about it. I mean, we've heard their comments. But just in that,
that's why we're here too.
Yeah. So the back row of these flags, the house as proposed is over 5,000 feet bigger than the other houses, according to tax assessor records. I mean, it's over 5,000 square feet bigger than other houses in the area. I mean, that's I think that speaks to the issue of the scale, and I'm not, I couldn't really see the diagram with the adjusted garage configuration, but I don't know if that'll really solve the problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
I just want to respond to the attorney from East Hampton, I guess, who found his way here to the village. In the last session, the chair invited the neighbors to get together, which actually is a constructive process. And the neighbors know we have a sense of what we think we like or don't like. We live here, and so I was just giving a fact as to, obviously you're going to decide. We deferred to you, but we wanted to express our view of what we thought was going on here, and that's why we got together.
Bob, with all due respect, he is representing another village neighbor of yours, okay?
And also to make a comment about the sports, the impact that our neighbor would have in our decision. It's not that we make our decisions based on the neighbor's overall decision to like or dislike an application, but it does have reference, and it is relevant, and we do take it into consideration. That, therefore, would be within keeping to a community. And that's something that this board also takes in consideration.
And texture as well.
Any further comments? Anything further from the board?
Nope.
Zach, anything further?
No.
Council, anything?
Nothing.
You have homework? Again, we can't force you to have dialogue with neighbors, but it sounds like you have made effort. But there were additional questions, and it seems that they came here unfortunately, not knowing more detail about whether it be planting trees, size. So there's still maybe some work that can be done to clarify those things. And it doesn't seem like they're too far off on what the resolution could be for the most part. Some a nice alternative was brought, so I don't know if you can take it back to the applicant and the architect to see if you could make a design that's, I guess, will improve on the impact of the.
Diminish the impact.
Diminish the impact.
Okay, we got our homework to do.
Any further questions from the applicant?
No, not at this time.
All right, at this time, you're requesting that this board adjourn so you can do your motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant's request to adjourn till our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's right, I didn't know whether I should.
Next application, Mr. Chair, is Roger Felderbaum, 220 South Main Street, for construction of second-story addition to dwelling.
Well, you skipped.
No,
Skipped.
we did Wyckoff, Platt, Young,
Strunk.
and Strunk. We did Strunk as well.
No, we didn't.
We didn't? We'll skip Strunk?
You did?
We did.
Okay.
We did do Strunk.
We did.
So again,
Yep.
next application is Roger Felderbaum, 220 South Main Street, for construction of second-story addition to dwelling. For the record, I may have some involvement on this, but I don't, so I'm okay to, it's an addition on top of an existing building. I'd worked with clients years ago.
Are you personally financially involved
Not
in
at
this
this time.
transaction?
No,
Do
not
you
at this
think you
time.
can make a impartial
time, yes.
decision? Very good.
Good evening, Board. CMX Sami, architect representing Mr. and Mrs. Felderbaum, owners of property located at 220 South Main Street, the historic district zone R40 of the village of Southampton. The house is located on the east side of South Main Street. It's the main original portion of the house is turn of the century Greek revival. I'll hand out some photographs for the board to take a look at. Yes, but these are in addition to that, yes.
Oh, sorry. I know the house.
And
Oh, I love this house.
just wanted, while you're at it, if you could also.
That's in the back.
Also
It's existing.
smaller size, so you can look at it.
Yeah, it's set back. It's on like 3 acres. It's beautiful. It's really,
Yeah. CMAC, is the facade of this house on the street side being touched at all, the main building?
Let me go through the presentation. I'll let you know.
sorry.
Oh, these guys follow these.
Yes.
Go to the second page.
I submitted some reduced scale drawings so you can take a look at, one for each. The original section of the house, as you see in the front page of that elevation, colored elevation, dating to the turn of the last century, is the Greek revival section. We are not doing anything on that section of the house. The house was added on to in the back on the east side, and then later on again back in the 80s, actually in the 90s, an addition was added on the east side extension as a living room section, which in style is not in line with the original house. It's more of a postmodern addition, one-story addition. The Felderbaums asked me to look into the possibility of locating an elevator somewhere in the house so they could access the second floor without having to walk up the stairs. So the new addition is basically where the elevator is accommodating the access to the master bedroom upstairs is on top of that new addition that was built originally in the 1990s. It's the same line of architecture. I did not want to basically design addition on the second floor that is in line with the original house, but more in line with that addition itself, so that it would separate itself from the original structure stylistically as much as possible. The new addition basically accommodates a master bathroom, which the elevator actually took away from the original house, the space of the master bathroom, and then a sitting area off of the master bedroom. The full height of this addition is at 24 feet. It is lower than the original section of the house. The ridge height of it is 24 feet. The eaves are at 18 feet. The finishes are the same as the rest of the house, painted shingles and asphalt shingles for the roof. And the windows and doors, again, are in line with the ground floor window types. This addition cannot be seen from the street. It's on the south side of the property, east side of the property, in the back of the property. The front of the property is at least 180 feet from the street. That photograph pretty much shows you the front of the house, and you can see that there's no visibility of this addition in the back. Any questions I can answer?
Anything that was historic was wiped out in the 80s when they did the addition.
Well, I could do a quick assessment on the fly, but it wouldn't be relevant to the addition off the back, which has no visual impact on the facade and therefore not a problem. Something strange happening with those window sashes. I'm not sure whether the upstairs got made smaller or the downstairs got made bigger, but they don't match.
Yeah,
and so somebody was in there changing the windows around. But we're not talking about windows. We're talking about addition off the back.
Not me.
No,
Brian,
I don't
comments?
think this is challenging.
No, I'm not a fan of postmodern additions on historic homes, but I think if you're living with that, this is a very tasteful way to please your clients and get their needs in without impacting the structure that's there. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Where is the elevator going in? Internally or in the?
Internal.
Elevators
Okay.
internally in the older section of the house.
My only concern is it was touching the front facade of the original house.
Not at all,
And
no.
if you're not doing that, I'm okay with it.
Addition is, I guess, in keeping with the existing lower, already altered structure.
Correct.
It's made in a way that's submissive, so therefore it's not really seen. I have no issue. Any public comment on the application? Sam Mack, you know, properties in the historic district requires written decision by council.
Correct.
We'll adjourn this evening for the written decision.
Okay, thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn for written decision.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Roger Felberbaum at 220 South Main Street for written decision by council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Next application is Frank Baker at 370 First Neck Lane to move an existing dwelling off-site, demolish existing.
140 Meadow.
I beg your pardon, I'm sorry, guys.
You sure you don't want to go?
Mhm.
Sorry, 140 Meadow Lane, exterior alterations to dwelling.
Eric Woodward, architect for the applicant. And this should be a reasonably simple application for you to review. There are photographs in the file. I've got two additional photographs that we didn't submit. Initially, they're aerial photographs that help orient. This building is one of the twin houses that you may know of. Originally were built mirror image to each other. This is the street view. This building is the one that my client is proposing to modify, and this was its twin. This one got 1985 with lots
Dormered.
of lots of stuff happening.
Back by dormers.
I imagine it went through this board to get permission, but
You weren't here.
We weren't here.
this is the oceanside view, and this is the building we're working on. And the intent of this client is to make one minor modification on the ocean side, which is to take off well, the house was built in 1931, and there was a dormer, a bay window put on here in 1983 or so. That's not really compatible. So the only exterior shape change or footprint change we're making is to remove that bay window, and it's more than a window. It's a bay with doors. So it's being removed, and the rest of the change that we're proposing is to. These are the elevation drawings of the existing house that you have in the file. The windows were changed in the 80s to plain double hungs with no panes, and so we're. Let's see. The proposed windows, the windows will all be replaced with casement windows with panes that would have been like the original house had before. These next to each other. The double hungs are the 1980s bad windows, and we're putting back what are very similar to what would have been there originally. And otherwise, it'll still be wood shingle roof, white painted shingles, white painted brick. That's all staying. So that's why I
Are
say
you the project architect or are you assisting?
I'm local architect.
Yes, you're assisting then.
Yeah, I'm assisting. The architect whose record and signed the drawings and did all the documentation is Rick Crestool in New York. And I have with me a representative of the firm who's organizing the whole project also, if you want to hear from him.
No? Unless you guys do.
No.
I'm okay. Just a question. Okay. So the fenestration changes, and you're taking off the south facing...
Yes. This is the south elevation. This is the offending bay that was added with the big sliding door.
And what are you putting in place of that?
And in place of that will be it's flat to the line of the original building.
Got it.
And French door, large double hung with panes, and another French door.
And no change in roof lines?
Well, this has its own little roof.
So it's just setting back.
So this is going back to.
Why the addition of the shutters when there's those shutters on that?
Yes, I should have mentioned yes.
Indeed.
We are adding shutters to all the windows.
Okay.
Throughout the entire house or just to the east elevation?
Yes, no, both sides.
Looks good.
Thank you for pointing that out. So we've got shutters also along on this side.
Color?
I believe they're all.
The roof is cedar. It's going to remain.
Have we
Eric?
discussed the color of the windows?
I think there probably would be white, but I don't know that we have discussed the color.
Yeah.
The shutters were originally, the building.
The one that you found on the property were white?
No, but the original pictures, as far as we can see, there were all shutters on the windows.
But do we know the color?
They show, I don't know that we have
We need
it
a
in
copy.
the black and white photos.
I couldn't if I wanted to.
Doctor, you gave me a great report.
It's great.
Ready to rock and roll.
Do you know?
I have to say, we don't know what color. We'd hope to be able to proceed with our approvals. Would you like to?
Are they pink?
No.
Okay.
No. White or black would be.
I think white or black is probably.
That's fine.
what we would do.
White, black, fine.
So, white shingles, white
shingles
shutters,
for sure, yeah.
White brick.
cedar roof.
Yes.
Good.
Natural cedar brick.
Brian?
I think it's fine.
Zach?
It's an improvement.
Well, I'm only intrigued by a reference to historical photographs because I'm wondering the decision to insert casement windows as opposed to sash windows of a different configuration. That's a choice. Is that based upon
Probably egress.
historic precedents.
The photos aren't very good. They
Yeah.
were in the presentation.
You have to step
of
forward.
Two houses.
Sir, unfortunately,
sorry.
you have to step forward. We can't pick you up on record. And your name for the record.
My name is Ray Beach. I represent the client, and I'm also coordinating the project. The best that we can find are the presentation of those two twin buildings when they were built, and they do show shutters and they do show casement windows. Especially on the second floor, the windows were designed for casement because of the length of the windows. So we're trying to keep it as close to the original as we can. We've been searching, trying to find more photographs, but there really is very little, and they're distance shots. But we were able to see that there were columns along where those sliding doors were installed. There were columns originally, and there was like a setback on both the west end where you entered into the kitchen, and also on the facing the water. And the windows in the kitchen were changed dramatically, and we put them back to, as far as we can see, the original locations. So the window placement throughout is closer, and we've opened up to see the original framing, and we're trying to hold to all those sizes.
That seems quite wonderful. I just want to point out that we being the town of Southampton Historic Archive, may have some original documents that will be helpful to you. So
That would be great.
If your intention is to try to get
Yes.
back to, as best you can.
Yes.
Based on documentation, perhaps we can discuss, because I'm also a town historian, and I
Well, that'd
think
be
we
terrific.
have some early
That'd be
documents
terrific.
that may be helpful.
I've been to wherever I can to find, but
These
I,
are required from a local surveyor, and we have some interesting drawings.
okay.
That's
So-
your intention, so we'll try to help you to get to the authenticity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anything further from the board?
No.
Any public comment on the application? Seeing there's no opposition, the application is, the property is located in the historic district. Our code, we are required to put all approvals in writing. So what we do now is empower our council to prepare a written decision, which will be prepared and ready for our next meeting.
And that's in January, is that correct?
That is, yes, it is January
22nd.
22nd.
23rd, is it?
22nd.
22nd.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn for written decision.
I make a motion that we
Yes.
adjourn the application of 140 Meadow Lane for written decision by council.
That's wonderful.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application is Frank Baker, 370 First Neck Lane, again to move existing main dwelling on site, demolish existing structures. Just reading the agenda. And construct new two-story single-family dwelling with detached garage and accessory pool house. Have the affidavit of posting and affidavit of mailing. Skip that here. Because of this one. Yeah, these are just waivers.
Proceed.
Good evening. My name is Walter Wilcoxon. I'm the architect for Frank and Laura Baker. My partner, William Beaton, is also here. I just want to give you a little overview of the site. It's 370 First Neck. There's an existing cottage in addition to that cottage. The cottage, I think, is about 100 years old. It originally was a workers' housing for the mansion in the back. I actually got that information from your record because there was a previous application to this site 4 or 5, maybe even a few more years ago that Chaliff and Rogers put in front of you and was passed. We don't have anything to do with that. We've designed a new structure. Our intention or our plan at this moment is to remove the whole structure from the site and donate it to the Shinnecock Nation. They've said they are interested, and if we can get approval to remove this site, this whole the original building and the addition, they will proceed quite quickly.
Contributing?
I'm not familiar with this. I'd have to see it. I don't know. It's an outbuilding to the original property?
No,
No,
well,
it's been added
the cottage is an outbuilding, is a caretaker's cottage.
7
And is
Maples.
the cottage the subject of this application?
The whole site, what we're planning to do is to
Demo the
move
entire
all of the structures off the site to another location. And in that way, construct a new building on the site, a new project on the site. And it's our belief that although it is in the historic district, it wasn't determined at the last hearing several years ago that it had any architectural significance, even though it is 100 years old. Our feeling is that even though it may not have architectural significance, it's still a structure that, if could be saved, is a good thing. The previous architects actually incorporated the original cottage in their plan, and as inappropriate as their plan was, that was their giving back to the community. We find it much more valid and not so gratuitous to take a structure and actually make it usable to somebody in the community who can actually use it.
Familiar with the site?
What we'd have to check, this is not the principal dwelling on the property.
It is.
It is.
Well, okay, let me rephrase.
Can I see those?
Well, this is part of the script. In 1979, my question is, in 1979, was this the principal
Thank
dwelling
you.
on the property?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking?
Yeah.
It was?
Yes.
So is it a contributing structure in the district? Because I'm not familiar with this particular building, so this is sort of...
My interpretation is it is not a contributing. It was not determined a contributing structure.
Clearly, prior to 1979, this was part of a larger property, which was at some point subdivided. There's a principal dwelling on now a separate parcel.
Correct.
Dating from whatever. And that more principal dwelling on a now adjoining parcel is considered the principal dwelling, which is a contributing component within the historic district.
Yes.
Subsequent to the laying out of all that, this being an accessory structure within that larger estate property, by 1979, it then occupied its own parcel. And so when the survey was done to lay the groundwork for a potential district, I'm just assuming that this was not considered to be a contributing building because it was a former accessory structure which didn't have the age or historical or architectural interest of the main house. And that would render it to be a non-contributing building. So I don't know the file, but that would be my assumption.
And I believe it was moved.
Okay, that too, well, that can happen
Because it was
too.
further up on the
To
street.
put it on its own
Yeah.
property. Because this appears to date from the 40s, perhaps the 50s, and I'm saying it's not considered a contributing structure.
Not. Do you think a report is necessary?
I think we should confirm that, but that seems to be what we're dealing with.
If I could just suggest maybe the first place for you to look would be is just in your file, because the record was fairly clear when I went over the file. I don't infer that you do it now, but there is that's where I got my information.
Okay.
So,
Right.
if you want to talk about what the replacement structure is and the materials and the character of that building, I'm going to let Bill Beaton discuss that with you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Sir, you're representing the possibility or the probability that this structure is going to be relocated to a different site. And I can understand you making that representation to the board in terms of whatever value it might have. But the bottom line is that you basically want to, if you can't do that, you intend to demolish this.
I wouldn't make that statement. I can't say that that's a...
Well, you're getting into a whole legal morass by proposing that this board condition your request on whether or not this is relocated and salvaged.
Well, the way I see it is that the original...
I'm not asking you to see it any other way. I'm just asking you to look at the legal implications.
I don't...
If you want a decision on this, then we would say that the request to remove it is conditioned upon it going some other place. All I'm saying is, what happens if that doesn't occur?
You don't really want to do that.
You basically are asking for a permit to demolish this, and if it so happens that somebody
Okay.
can use it,
Gotcha.
that's a good thing.
Gotcha.
But your request to this board is for demolition.
Okay.
Removal.
Removal. Okay.
So
Demolition.
Demolition.
Not the
sorry,
first
right.
time that sort of application's come in front.
And he can still do that, I
He
suppose.
can do anything
What
he
you
wants.
do,
anything you want.
where you move it,
Okay, gotcha.
it's your discretion.
But it's, the consideration of the board is not that this is going to
It's
be
going
removed.
somewhere else.
The situation is you're asking for demolition, and you're mentioning as an aside that you hope that this may be used by some other entity or person.
I
but
understand.
That's a matter of fortune.
I understand what you're saying now. It's much further than an aside,
Yes.
but I understand.
Yeah, but the board can't get involved.
I understand.
So you're asking for a demolition.
Yes.
Okay.
Proceed.
Hi, I'm Bill Beaton, also architect too.
I want to not have you follow that up, though.
No, I know.
So the client likes the house that is there, the style of the house, and wants to keep the character because of the village and the, even if it's not significant historically, that's what
That's
attracted
why he
him
wants to demolish.
to the property. Well, it's too small, for the property. That's not a livable space.
Right.
It wasn't well done. The additions that were made to it, the garage is awkward, the driveway's awkward. There's a lot that's sort of less than appealing about the overall property. So their intention was to expand on the detailing and character of the original building, as if the house that it might have been attached to or a part of would be built there.
You're inspired by the design you replicated in your new design.
Correct. Some detailing has been replicated in the new design. And that's a rendering from the, to show the hoped-for character of...
Just FYI, if you guys ever do any additional business here in the village, we really prefer smaller plans because it makes it very difficult for us to...
Understood. I have a small set.
I prefer that too.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Cedar roof, cedar siding, brick is local.
Brick and some stone. correct.
Sunburst are painted.
Those are
Wood.
painted, they're from the original
Okay.
house, correct.
Leaded windows on the upper dormer, the shed dormer?
It's
Or just
divided
muntins?
light with muntins, yeah.
They're diamond style?
Typical diamond.
Leaded or just?
Not leaded.
Wood munted,
Wood,
okay.
correct.
And the fenestration is shown at 12/2s?
There are varying, I believe, it's all over two, some of them are more, some of them are.
Is there shown on this? Right.
That's, yeah, a
And the porte
depiction.
cochere is how wide?
The interior of the porte cochere or the opening?
Approach, the opening.
The opening, I believe, is 10 feet. It might be
So it's
actually
not
might be a little.
operational, it's for looks?
It's to drive through.
It's
correct.
you're gonna use it.
They're going to
Okay.
drive through it. correct.
So and this is open on this side?
It is open to that side. There's some storage in the porte
Got it,
cochere.
okay. And the moldings are painted, the exterior siding is painted or natural?
It's natural.
Natural. Okay. And the panelization or the corbelling of the chimney is representative of what you want to do?
It is representative of a possibility based on other vernacular.
And the first floor fenestration, we're showing shutters that are different style than the second floor?
As a possibility.
Is it a possibility, or which one are you going for?
Well, it's typical vernacular in that period to find panel
That's
below.
fine, but it's
and-
representative of what the intent is?
Correct. The intent
Okay.
is a louvered shutter above for air and.
You have a number of different window styles and...
Correct.
So the casement style that you have flanking the other side of the fireplace facing west, I imagine this is facing west? the one
That is
page
facing west,
right?
correct. It is
Okay.
on- yes.
Those are casement styles, the rest of those are the only casement styles in the house, is that correct?
There
The
are
rest
other
of them are
casement
double
style
hung?
windows, correct. There are a mix of double hungs and casements.
Can you do a elevation also of the other, I'm sorry, can I have elevations of the other perspectives? Or is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is that
It's
represented
all-
here?
it's all represented in the file.
Okay,
Correct.
fine. Got, no, I already saw it from over my shoulder. So the pool house that you're proposing, same as this?
Similar style, correct.
Similar, okay, and that's 16 foot on the ridge height? Okay,
16
garage, Similar
Rogers
style?
16, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw them in the small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, comments?
I think the house is beautiful.
I think it's
great.
beautiful.
I do have a question though. I mean, this lot is called Seven Maples because there's these beautiful historic maple trees on it and they're being taken away.
You can see in your file, there's some pictures of those maples. The one closest to the house that will definitely go is basically gone.
But that huge one in the back,
That's gone. It's
really?
just totally.
They were some heavily pollarded. They whacked them beyond. I don't even know what they did to them, but they're quite misshapen now. They were the prize of the previous owner, but quite misshapen. Not attractive anymore, unfortunately.
Would you guys be willing to revisit that, or is it something you've already visited?
Well, I think if you look at the pictures, I think you would take them down too. There's a lot of rock.
I don't have any challenges with the design. My only question is to Zach. I feel a little more secure in doing a little more in-depth visit on the historical significance of the existing. I mean, I appreciate what's being done and what's being proposed to be done, but once it's gone, and I think for our file purposes, it would be a complete file that at least have something validating that there is.
Well, I can see from the photographs, it's my fault to not be prepared for this evening and not having looked at this. I'm confident that this is not a contributing structure in the district. And I think the photographs pretty well demonstrate that this is probably, whether it's been moved, relocated within that property or not, it's not really. It's a house that looks to date, maybe from the 1930s, probably from the 1940s. It's clearly a small accessory outbuilding. I think the new design that's proposed is really quite striking and beautifully adapted to the historic district. So I don't think that's what's being presented proposes any real design challenges. Oftentimes you look for some design compatibility between what is new and introduced to a former estate property and what is already standing on that property. If this is sufficiently distant from that, I don't think it bears any relationship between the two. So I'm looking at this as its own house, its own parcel, and I think that the design is very striking. And for the size of the house, which is quite large, it's scaled beautifully and not overwhelming. So I don't have any.
Okay. You are our historic consultant, so we'll obviously take in consideration your viewpoint. Any public comment on the application? Seems to be no opposition of the board, so because the property is located in the historic district, the approval must be in writing, so that will be prepared at our next meeting.
So you will see you on the 22nd.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You guys are in total shock, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. We hope that you'll keep your eye on this and throughout the process, please.
Motion to adjourn for written decision by council.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Frank Baker at 371st Neck Lane for a written decision by our council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Concludes our historic applications for this evening. First application, non-historic.
Chair, next application is Jasper Rose, 60 Halsey Street.
Is the applicant present?
It's been on here forever.
It's been up here for a while. Council, did we send out a letter last time?
I gotta pull it off.
Okay. I thought we requested a letter.
You want to adjourn, or? Okay.
2 seconds.
Yeah, take your time.
And nothing's been added to the file. Can we adjourn and request to remove to further?
Well, you could delete it this evening if you like.
We've received no further update. We've sent out a letter with no response.
Motion to strike the application of Jasper Rose from the agenda.
All right. Motion to strike the application of Jasper Rose.
I make a motion that we strike the application of Jasper Rose LLC from the agenda at 60 Halsey Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is Bill and Sharon Jacob, 52 Bishop's Lane.
Again, it was in the
This
letter
has
out.
been on here too. Yeah.
It's okay.
Jacob. Yeah, also a letter as well.
Motion to
Strike. I make a motion that we strike the application of Bill and Sharon Jacob at 52 Bishop's Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application.
Next application is Gregory H. Bitch, 176 Elm Street. Construction of two-story single-family dwelling, pool, and garage. Or pool, but, and garage. Just me this.
Good evening. My name is Mark Ugalde, representing Mr. Fitch. In the previous ARB meeting, several issues were brought up. Marco, Ugalde, U-G-A-L-D-E. From Southampton Engineering, representing Mr. Fitch.
It's like a dozen other homes we've.
What's that? What'd you say?
And comments?
Well, yeah. A1, rendering. We're beginning to address some of the issues. It's getting there in certain ways, but it's also it's going sideways a little bit. I think the dormer that's facing Elm Street, that's on the front facade on A1, can be looked at again.
If you go to page A3, rendering. One of the issues previously was
west elevation. Is that what you're referring to?
West elevation,
Elm Street
A3.
side.
That would be front facing Elm. One of the concerns on the previous meeting was there was a gable on the hip roof above the porch.
Right.
Which it's no longer there. It's removed.
You talking about
that was the concern on this elevation. That was one of the issues.
I'm talking about the dormer on the
Yeah.
top. I'm fine with what you did with the hip at the entry. Okay, although the front door is confusing, and I think you guys have, when I'm looking at the dormer on the slope of the front, or west facing, or if you will, Elm Street side.
Yeah.
Okay, it just still is not working. It's very, I
Brian,
don't
do you
know.
have any comments?
Well, is it the size of the dormer?
I think you have, it's gable on gable, kind of. I'm not even sure. The drawing is a little bit different. The windows are small.
Shortening.
It's
It's
the roof
tiny.
line of the dormer should not match the roof
Right.
line of the house.
The
Should
pitch?
come down, yeah.
Or the shape, for that matter. So, I mean, typically it could be it could be a bell dormer or a shed dormer or some stuff, but your windows are also very, very small. They look like they're out of proportion. So I'd like to address that. The rest of the facade on the front, I have no issues with the corrections that you've made, with the exception that there's a lot going on in the front door. I'm not quite sure if that's a 5-panel door that's glazing above the 2 panels on the door itself, the primary door itself, but you have a transom with 3 lights, it looks like, and then I'm not sure if is that a 2-light, are those 2-light side lights or those panelized side lights? AutoCAD's not clear.
2 light side lights.
Glass over glass?
Yeah.
I'd like to see the lower portion of that panelized and the upper part glazing, and then the door being solid with the transom, but not all that glass. You have,
You're saying it's too busy?
yeah, it's not only busy, it's not appropriate. You have a transom, a 3-glass transom over what appears to be 3 lights on top of a panelized door with side lights that have glazing up and down. Doesn't make any sense. Typically, the glazing would be on the side lights would be up to about where you have the latch indicator on the door, maybe a little bit lower, so it's appropriate. There's also, I'd like to see a detail of the entry and the dormer. On the back or on the Pelletreau side, it's confusing. If you might introduce maybe a Dutch dormer or something that's more appropriate to that gable where you've got the twin windows that are molded together. I'm talking about the Pelletreau.
Previously, we had, well...
Previously, it was a mess. It's getting there, but it's still...
Mr. Fitch was presenting a double gable, a stack, one over the other.
But we're looking at this.
Bigger, the upper one, yeah, on the same page, A3.
Right.
The larger one was completely removed, the lower one staying and getting rid of the returns. So it looks a lot cleaner.
You still have these pork chop returns on this gable on above, and why do you even need that?
They shouldn't be there. Can I see the set you're looking at? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's consistent with all our sets that we have here. Also, I'm not quite sure what you're doing with the fireplace, the corbelling, the 3 tops. Is that representative of your actual use? This house, as I recall, in the last application, didn't have a fireplace.
There was no fireplace.
And now you're
recommended.
Attaching, well, no, we just asked, but you're attaching a fireplace to the outside with 3 flues with stacked corbelling that goes out and returns to itself, and then a semi-panelization at the bottom. I'd like to see a detail of that. I think it's a good addition, but the AutoCAD lacks the detail. Going back to the other side, the south elevation facing the neighbor, I assume those are French doors. Are there any muntins or mullions within those windows, or are they doors or windows? They appear to be. Talking about this area
right here.
Yeah, as you have indicated, east elevation.
Yeah.
Is that east elevation?
East would be rear. No.
What elevation would that be?
This one you're talking? This would be the rear.
It's the rear.
It's the rear? I beg your pardon. So, what we have, I'm sorry, it's the rear. So when you're driving down Pelletreau, you're looking at the back of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there muntins or is that clear glass?
Clear, I want to say.
All right.
Not 100% sure.
Mistake. I don't see anything on there. Going back to the south elevation, I'll correct myself, and I think you've done improvements on that. So my basic only 2 issues, guys, would be entrance system, top dormer. The side would be the returns coming back, and a detail on the chimney.
Ryan?
I agree with everything Ham's saying. I think Zach had asked for more sort of ornamentation or trim details because it was all flat. I still don't see, I mean, I see a cross section here with, a structural section. It doesn't really show an eave detail and things like that. And I think
if you go to page A8, still you find the details.
Maybe I didn't get back there.
One of the details that was added is that Brian requested, Zach, I'm sorry.
You're on A8?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the flare right above the band between the first and second floor.
Okay, so you're looking at 5A8?
Yeah.
On 5, flared shake detail? And where does that occur on the plan? Can you key that detail in on the plan?
On the plan? No, throughout, in the perimeter.
It's throughout?
Yeah.
Okay.
The flare right above the band.
Is that a mid-band detail as well?
I'm sorry?
Is there a mid-band detail as well? You show looks like a 5/4
Well, you can
by 8.
actually see it in the bracket detail. You can actually see that flare. And there's also a detail on the same page, 8 detail 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Flared shake
That's the detail you want to look at.
Done?
It's much better.
It
is much better.
You're right, or in subsequent south detail, I'm happy you got rid of all of that palladium glass that was all over the place. Did you see the difference?
That would be on the south elevation?
Yeah.
Thank you for the detail there. The only challenge I have, I echo the dormer. Not so much with the front entry. I don't really have any issue with that, but I do echo the dormer, and I understand. I see why both my colleagues have an issue with that. So overall,
We also provided a landscaping plan
See that.
prepared by a local professional. Which takes care of the screening issues mentioned previously.
usually like to see what's existing and what's being added. It just says maple. It doesn't know. I don't know if that's being added. Is it existing? Is it? Just like
The maples are existings.
They're existing.
Are
Yeah.
those village trees?
All of them.
Are
Those are village trees, yeah.
Well, yeah. You have to exclude those from your landscape plan.
They shouldn't even be here?
Well, it's not so much that.
I think you should-
would
you
just like to see what's existing, what's being added. Just a little detail, so that we can see how much of the.
You want to be able to see the difference between.
I don't think you can plant on village property. That's what I kind of figured. So it looks like you're insetting two Japanese maples on village trees. So if you could delineate what's village, what's yours, what's existing, what's proposed, and show the calipers too. That's usually in a landscape plan. And I would also show what your setbacks are here. There's no measurements on here. No key to the survey, the actual survey.
Well, this is not the survey, this is just the landscaping plan.
understand.
There is a survey though.
But if you could show the measurements on here, that'd be great. House to edge property lines, so we can get an idea of scale, because right now.
Landscaping plan.
I'm talking about the landscaping plan.
Yeah.
So
You
you're
wanna see the
showing the
setbacks on that?
you're showing the landscaping plan inclusive of village property. You should really show the property itself as it stands on its own merit,
Right.
okay? Basic. So it's better than fluffy plantings that you had last time. You're getting there, but it needs to be clarified. Where's your I'm sorry. I'd also like to see some measurements, for instance, the screening, particularly on the Elm Street side. How many feet back are you? We have no way to judge that. So it's really not a legal landscape plan from my standpoint. There's no distance.
It is the scale.
What's the scale?
Just
1 to 10.
it would be so much clearer if you just determine which is existing and what you're adding
And
maybe
show
it's
the
better.
scale, so we're not asking questions.
Any public comment?
You're almost there.
Anything
Yeah.
further from the board?
Yep.
Some work that you have to get done, so you're requesting this board to adjourn, so you can get that information taken care of.
Yeah.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion, we approve the applicant's request to adjourn the application of Gregory H. Fitch at 176 Elm Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next application.
You're clear on what you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Next application is Philippe and Rosita Weisberg, 211 Downs Pass for driveway gates.
My name's Glenn Cordova. I'm from Blaze Macoid Architecture, representing the Weisbergs. The application is for a set of driveway gates and piers. The piers are stucco with lead-coated copper caps. The driveway gates are constructed of wood with wooden slats for transparency. The proportions of which and the whole color palette match the house that is under construction right now.
What is the spacing between these vertical
There is a construction detail, I believe.
Is this it?
Yes.
Okay.
The spacing between the slats, oh, it's not on that, is 3 inches. Each slat is 1.5 inches.
Okay, so it's 50%.
Yes.
Brian, comments?
I think it's great looking.
Pam?
I think it's appropriate, and it's, I'd like to see those grills a little bit bigger, but it's a nice design. It's
Sure.
handsome.
Thank you.
Nice.
I look. No issues. Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve the application of Philippe and Rosita Weisberg at 211 Downs Path.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next application is Wham Leo's Lane LLC, 69 Leo's Lane, for construction of two-story single-family dwelling and detached garage.
Good evening, I'm Jim Hoffman, owner and builder. I have small sets. I don't know, can I
That'd
just
be
pass
great.
them out to you? Yeah.
Okay.
Jim. Last time I did this, I think I spoke too much, and I should probably just wait for your questions, but it's a two-story, single-family residence. We propose to put on at 69 Leo's Lane. This is the subject property. There's 3 photos across the top, and this one down on the second tier. These are the neighboring properties.
Which is the subject, sorry?
This is the subject across the top and that one there. So it's a single-family, a single-story ranch home that will be demolished. This is neighbor to the south. That is neighbor to the north. These are the 3 properties across the street. I'll be back to you in a month or so with this because we own that one too. To demolish and rebuild on that lot. I have a site plan. It's actually, you've got a small copy of in your packet. I think it's the second page. Done by Squires Holden. There's a driveway going down the side to a detached garage with a pool porch and fireplace at the back of the property.
Stone is the chimney.
Stone, I was wondering if I could do something, get something approved in the alternative. We've done a house we just finished on Cooper's Farm Road. We used a reclaimed brick. That's not what's drawn here, but if it's possible to get approval to do both, either stone or brick, that would be great. If that's not possible, I'll stick with the
I
stone.
would be strictly brick only in this neighborhood, but I'd be fine with a reclaimed brick.
So that's what I'll go for.
I would
then.
be. I'm not speaking for the other members.
I prefer it, which is why I put that in.
And you could
at
write
the
that
last
on the
minute.
application then?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the other materials? I'm
The other things
speaking
on
for
here?
myself, not for the other members.
This is pressure-treated roof shingles, natural red cedar siding shingles that we will treat with a clear protecting sealant. This is white dove, which is the color of the trim we proposed to use.
Get details on the pillars.
The pillars of
cedar pillars.
Cedar pillars.
The cedar pillars, yeah. If you go to, let's see. A603, you can see the pillars on the second story deck in the back.
So C6, I'm sorry.
A603, the very last
A603.
page. I do not have a detail on those front 2 pillars, but it is a suite similar to that detail on the second story pillar.
I'm sorry. What did you say?
He doesn't
Last page, A603, I have a
Right.
detail on
Oh, so
the-
you're looking at A603, section 1, or page up left?
Correct.
Okay, so it's
That's
so it's the same style sweep? as
Correct. And
you
that will
have
be
on your
used
post?
On the post at the front entrance.
Hmm. I'd like to see a model of this house in three-dimensional, especially with the sweeps, if it's possible. The material is brick, cedar, fine, it's all neutral. But there's a lot of curves going on here. You have a very, on your front, on
front,
CS1, you have on the left side, there's a very similar house, well, not similar at all, but there's a style house on, I think it's 313 or 311 Little Plains.
Okay.
But this looks like it's going completely too wide for the lot, personally. I'd like to see how that would look on a 3D. But it might not be that bad. There's a lot going on with the four-light window above, well, first of all, let me back up. The panelization of, I guess that's a stair tower going up?
That's a stair tower.
Okay.
Yes.
So above the stair tower in the street-facing gable,
Yes.
you have an inset window there as a detail.
Yeah.
And then you've got brackets. It's very busy looking. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's just...
I'm looking at the front and rear, and it's just the different domes and the different roof pitches, and it just overall looks busy. Second story deck accessible.
There's a lot of swales and such. And maybe it's...
Brian, I mean, do you see the rear?
Yeah, I'm struggling with it too. I'm not seeing any. I'm seeing a lot of towers. There's towers in the front, there's towers in the back, and I'm not seeing any historical reference. So I'm trying to figure out what style this really is, because this neighborhood, we don't have anything that's heading toward more modern in this neighborhood.
I mean, the streetscape on the four streets in the neighborhood, it's an evolving streetscape.
Sure.
It's transitioning from pretty much single-story 1950s ranch homes to a sort of an eclectic mix of
Yeah, but they're historic and the
shingle-style
colonials. They're not as
Right.
contemporary.
This is sort of pushing it a little bit, I
Yeah.
think.
Right. I mean, the architectural intent here is that it is a shingle style with some prairie elements and also some Queen Anne elements.
Yeah, it's too many elements.
It's a lot of elements. It's a lot of elements. Yeah, the respect of offering two different facades on the chimney is a great start. The brick is obviously clear, at least from my standpoint. The colors are neutral. That's great.
Right.
But there's a lot going on here.
Okay.
Okay. There's a lot of elements. The brackets are, to me, conflicting with the style of the house. The swags and the swales and these turns is a lot. It's very busy. If you're going to present it, I'd love to see this in three-dimensional, but I also think you should look at other areas of the village.
Okay.
Besides this one area to compare it to, and that's what a lot of the houses in that area and other areas adjacent to our historic area, historic district, which this is. And I think you should look at the entire village as a whole and perhaps come up with some examples. Although we encourage streetscape, as you've done, as you've shown, or as you've compared to, we also encourage not going over the top and using so many different styles.
I would
And I have to
would
agree with what Brian is
look
saying.
at maybe tempering down some of the domes.
Some of the peaks.
Some of the peaks. You know what, the front of the house is overly exaggerated. It purposely looks overly exaggerated. The swoop, the dome, the peaks. Then you have the windows. It just seems
There's
way
a lot
too busy.
going on. The question I had when I asked about the stair tower before, I guess I was not referring.
Finish it.
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry.
It's gonna be.
I'm going to come back to it when you finish. I beg
No,
your
it's okay. I think you
got
get
me
the point.
confused. There's so many issues.
At this point, I believe
Want to
you
see something
understand.
more simple.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
simple.
Thank you.
Any public comment on the application? Anything further from the board?
Yeah, one other thing, I just clarify when I so rudely interrupted you, which I did do, and I'm sorry, but we have two stair towers here or one?
It is one stair tower.
Okay, and which stair tower are we looking at? Is it the one offset to the center line? It's confusing because your front door on this house,
All the way
the
to
location of the front
all the way to the
door
left.
is very different. So your entry door is where those two cedar flared columns are.
Correct, and then you walk down.
Which used to be typically done with a little less flare. They seem, as I would be interested in seeing, first of all, a detail of what that really looks like in a full scale. And typically those were done a lot up in the art village, and they were generally done with cypress and not cedar. And they were very detailed, and the detail of the exposure was increased to 10, 11, 12 odd inches. And it's a very sensitive detail. They weren't just slapped on a curve because it's going to look like something that you just poked there, like an art project. So I would say that you also have the top of the so-called stair tower, which is engaged into your, I'm trying to use the word swale, but curve, which looks very odd. And then when you jump over to the right, the anchor of the house, which appears to be the second floor panelized windows and the first floor panelized windows, begins to feel like that's where the entry is. So I'm losing the whole thing. So it's not just a question of busy. And then I think what you're referring to is that second, I don't know what that would be, that's over to the center of the, it's the highest point in the house.
It is still part of the stair tower. It's just going up.
Right.
So to the third floor.
Yeah.
But there is no third floor. It's just.
But you understand that the impact, the visual impact is that it's going into a third floor.
Okay.
And as Brian was saying, look, this neighborhood was generally a neighborhood originally of one-story houses that grew to a story and a half, and all the designs that this board has seen, I think as long as I've been on it, which has been quite a few years, has been respect to that area, but not necessarily trying to take in introduce all sorts of interesting elements that may be interesting to a less exposed area. But this is a very
just to let you know, very, very, very surprised people aren't here speaking.
Okay. It's because it's 9 degrees outside.
Just to let you know, this is a rarity. I would have imagined and I was expecting people to be here. Not that, again, that's going to influence us, but just to let you know on a further or additional date, there may be. And some of the things that we're mentioning here are definitely things that are going to be mentioned by those neighbors or people in the community who have some concern over this particular street, along with the overall neighborhood itself.
Okay.
So be prepared.
Okay.
One other comment, if I may. You say that you introduced you introduced this application. When you opened the application, you said you had 2 other lots in this neighborhood. In New York, in Manhattan, I used to do a lot of work where we used to use a lot of expediters, and we used to throw everything with the kitchen sink in there, and they'd have a lot of throwaways. This isn't a throwaway set of plans that you're simply trying to feel back from us, because this is never going to get approved. But are you developing the other 2 lots at the same time? And if so, should we see those applications?
One other lot.
It's one other lot.
I'm sorry.
And I don't have that prepared yet. We just purchased it.
Nor is it relevant.
Well, if it is is it next door?
It's across the street.
It's right across the street.
We are looking at this
This is directly across the street.
Uh-huh.
We own this property.
Got
which is Caddy Corner, and then that's the one next.
Thank you.
So it's just 2 lots on the street.
I agree that if you're going to be preparing another application, being a little bit more sensitive and taking some of the comments from this application to your next.
Exactly. Right.
However, we're not looking at that application.
Or can we?
And nor has it been submitted.
Understood.
Okay.
So you have some homework.
Great.
Are you requesting this board to adjourn?
Actually, can I just follow up with one other thing?
We don't take money.
Yeah, no. The check is not for you. It's a sign application. My colleague tried to submit a sign application.
No, that has to go to the building department.
It goes to the building department. He was told to bring it here this evening, but that's not what you did.
No one would have told you that from the building department.
Okay.
If they did, that they were
no one. I'm going to
arranged.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Your material is starting out very well, though.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion, we approve the applicant's request to adjourn for WAM Leo's Lane LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You want a couple of these mini sets back?
If you're just going to trash them, sure, I'll take them, but it sounds like
I'm
I
not
need
going
to
to trash them. I'm
now.
just asking if you want them back.
That's what's going to happen. What's left are the minutes from December 11th. All members. I'm sorry?
Except for Esther.
Oh, okay. Everyone had the opportunity to review.
Yes.
Question, comments, concerns?
Nope.
None.
Any issues?
Nope.
Motion to approve the minutes from December 11th.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from December 11th, 2013.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And motion to close our very first meeting of 2014, January 8th.
I make a motion that we close the very first meeting of the Board of Architectural Review for January 8th, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.